Washington crossing the Delaware was painted in 1851. This painting was painted on oil and canvas. The size of this painting is 149 in × 255 inches. This painting is located at Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York, and Minnesota Marine Art Museum, Winona, Minnesota. The paintings commemorate General George Washington and the Continental Army crossing the Delaware River during the American Revolutionary War on the evening of December 25 to 26, 1776. At the Battle of Trenton in New Jersey on the morning of December 26, such action served as the catalyst for a surprise attack and victory over Hessian forces. 3 oil paintings on canvas, titled Washington Crossing the Delaware, were created in 1851 by German-American painter Emanuel Leutze. The second painting, which is an exact reproduction of the first in size, was started in 1850 and displayed in New York in October of that same year. Over 50,000 people watched it. Marshall O. Roberts initially paid $10,000, a large sum at the time, for the painting. In 2021, roughly $350,000. After multiple ownership changes, John Stuart Kennedy finally gave it to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in 1897. Washington Leutze's companion piece to Washington Crossing the Delaware, Rallying the Troops at Monmouth, is on display in the Hines East Reading Room of the Doe Library at the University of California, Berkeley. In its history, the painting has been led at least twice. It was included at a Dallas, Texas, exhibition around the start of the 1950s. It was then displayed in the United Methodist Church in Washington Crossing, Pennsylvania, not far from the painting's subject, starting in 1952, for a number of years. It is currently on display at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. A former guard for the Metropolitan Museum of Art attached a photo of the September 11th attacks to the painting in January 2002, defacing it. The painting was not seriously harmed. It was discovered that the straightforward frame that had accompanied the artwork for more than 90 years was not the one that Leutze had originally created. In 2007, the New York Historical Society discovered a photograph shot by Matthew Brady in 1864 that showed the painting in a stunning frame with an eagle's head. Eli Wilner and Company in New York City used this photograph to carve the 12 feet x 21 feet replica frame. Only the 14-foot wide sculpted eagle-topped crest is visible. From 1979 to 2014, a scaled-down reproduction of the original artwork, the third iteration of the work, hung in the White House reception area. Mary Breeder and Bob Kierlin, who helped establish the Minnesota Marine Art Museum in Winona, Minnesota, bought the painting and displayed it there as the highlight of the institution's American collection. The third iteration of the artwork was sold for $45 million at Christie's auction in May 2022. The painting is noteworthy for its creative design. An extraordinarily bright sky draws attention to General Washington, and his face catches the setting light. As might be expected at dawn, the colors are primarily black, but there are recurring red accents all across the picture. The painting has depth thanks to the foreshortened perspective, the distant vessels, and the emphasis on the boat transporting Washington. A guy wearing a Scottish bonnet and a man of African heritage standing next to each other facing backwards in the front of the boat, Western riflemen at the bow and stern, and 2 farmers wearing broad-brimmed hats close to the back depict a cross-section of the American colonies, one with bandaged head. In order to convey the impression that all citizens of the new United States of America were shown as being present in the boat with Washington as he traveled to victory and success, there is also a guy in the back of the vessel dressed in what appears to be Native American garb. General Nathaniel Greene is leaning over the edge, and Lieutenant James Monroe, the future President of the United States, is standing next to Washington and clutching the flag, according to the 1853 exhibition book. Also seen inside the ship is General Edward Hand, who is seated and carrying his hat. The flag scene is an early rendition of the American flag, the Stars and Stripes, whose design was not yet complete at the time of George Washington's crossing. The Second Continental Congress Flag Resolution of June 14, 1777, which was far after Washington's crossing in 1776, was the first document to specify the flag's design. The first time the flag was flown was on September 3, 1777. The Grand Union flag, raised by Washington as the standard of the Continental Army and the first national banner in Somerville, Massachusetts, on January 1, 1776, would have been a more historically accurate flag. Washington's posture, which was undoubtedly meant to portray him in a heroic light, would have been exceedingly challenging to maintain in the choppy conditions of the voyage. He is standing in a rowboat, thus adopting that posture runs the risk of tipping the vessel over. The actual Durham boats used were substantially larger, with a flat bottom, taller sides, a broad beam, width of around 8 feet, and a draft of 24 to 30 inches. However, historian David Hackett Fisher has claimed that everyone would have been standing up to avoid the frigid water in the bottom of the boat. The sonnet Washington Crossing the Delaware was written by David Schulman in 1936. A 14-line rhyming sonnet with every line anagramming the title, it alludes to the scenario in the picture. Washington Crossing the Delaware was painted by American pop artist Larry Rivers in 1953, and it may be found in the collection of the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Roy Lichtenstein and Robert Colescott both created replicas of the picture, one of which is an abstract expressionist variation painted about 1951. A parody titled George Washington Carver Crossing the Delaware painted in 1975. In his own work, Daughters of Revolution, Grant Wood directly references Leutz's picture. The artwork takes a direct shot at the DAR and examines what Wood perceived as their unjustified elitism. Oliver Perry changing command from one ship to another at the Battle of Lake Erie during the War of 1812 is depicted in a painting by William H. Powell that artistically references Leutz's work. Powell later produced a larger, lighter-toned version of the same subject, which is now displayed in the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. The original painting is currently displayed in the Ohio State House. Perry is depicted standing in a tiny boat being rowed by many uniformed men in both of Powell's artworks. The Washington painting depicts movement from right to left, whereas the Perry picture depicts the opposite direction of movement, but the two compositions are generally comparable. One boat's occupant is seen in each painting wearing a bandage.